Hello, welcome to Board Game Opinions. My name's Jonathan Hicks.
And my name's Mark Windle.
And today we're joined by local painter Chris Flux.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you all.
Now we've asked Chris to come in here. He's brought a selection of miniatures that he's painted from traditional, like what I think was war game miniatures. You've got some of them, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you've also got board gaming miniatures. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So I'm quite interested to see what's the difference. Why would you paint board game miniatures? Because usually you hear about people who paint wargaming miniatures. So we wanted to chat to Chris to find out a little bit about what he does, because I think he's extremely good. We're going to show some close-ups of these miniatures in a bit. He is very good. So we're going to hopefully find out a bit about what he does, and if you're interested in doing some painting yourself, how you might be able to get into it. So first of all, how long have you been painting, Chris?
I think I probably painted my first miniature when I was 14.
Okay.
So that is, we're looking at a good 25 years or so now.
Wow. Right.
There's a few gaps in the middle. I went to university, didn't have anywhere to paint and things like that. Children happened, so that also takes a few years off. So, but yeah, the first miniature was when I was 14.
Okay.
So yeah, quite a while.
And what kind of miniatures were you painting to start with?
It was fairly typical Games Workshop. I think it was definitely on the wargaming side of things. Warhammer Fantasy Battle had just been released, so had Fantasy Roleplay game, and I just decided to pick up some dwarfs and things like that. You know, they were fun, they were interesting. I hadn't really done anything like that before, and that was before I'd even started playing board games as well. But that was, I suppose Games Workshop really saturated the market even back then, so picking up those miniatures was easy. So that's where I started.
Especially with being in Nottingham, which is the heart of Games Workshop.
That's true.
It's one of the few miniatures games that even got into like the playground, if you know what I mean, and that's the difference. Maybe that's what made them so big at the time.
Possibly. I mean, actually, this wasn't even Nottingham this happened in.
Wow.
It was the playground, but
Yeah.
it was back on the Isle of Wight. And there was maybe two copies of the book ended up at the playground, got shared around. My brother bought one of them, and I just sort of looked at it and thought, that's amazing. I've just got to start doing some of that. So yeah, it really hit the playgrounds really hard where I was at the time.
Yeah. No, I can remember the same experience myself, actually. At secondary school, I started doing some painting, and I've done a bit of painting over the years. I'm really not that good, but I really enjoyed the painting experience, I find. It does take quite a long time, doesn't it?
It can do, but I enjoy that. I mean, there's a certain amount of solitude that comes with painting sometimes. It's not a group activity, but it's really nice just to settle down, and I tend to put some music on in the background, just listen to music while I paint, and it's just a nice way to relax at the end of an evening or something like that, or actually quite often early in the morning before the family gets up, sometimes I get up and just do a bit of painting, which is quite nice, just while it's quiet and just the cats are around.
Alright, great. Now you brought a selection of miniatures ranging from stuff you've done quite a long time ago through to the incredible Santorini painting you've done here. So could you sort of talk us through how the kind of things you've painted has changed through the years, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose down at the far end over here, I've got some old Games Workshop things that I thought people might like to have a look at, and that's sort of where I started. These were quite big miniatures for the time. It's from the old Inquisitor game, which you can't get anymore.
Yeah, they do look big.
But they were lovely. I mean, if you compare them to what you'd get for, I suppose this is a current size one there, 28mm to 58. It's a lot easier to paint a large miniature when you start. So these were just great to get going with when I did it. I mean, I was probably about 5-6 years into my painting when I did this chap here. Probably around about early 20s I did him. And he was just nice, he was fun, he was a multi-part miniature, so you had to assemble him, put him together, and there was a whole amount of amusement, I suppose, in the fact that he was more like a model kit than some of the previous miniatures.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And again, with this chap here, there's lots of details you get on these wargaming miniatures that you don't see on the board gaming miniatures. So lots of extra bits that you glue on, stick on, a lot of extra work that you do on the base to put them together as well. So these guys, those were fun to start off with. But I didn't really have a lot of use for them. I've probably got a history of picking games with miniatures that fall flat on their face after a while. Lovely miniatures, but the games don't go anywhere. They get cancelled, withdrawn, I can't find players. I suppose the Isle of Wight didn't help. A long time it was the Games Workshop Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and that was it. No one else was playing anything else. So really, I suppose I got lucky. There was a local comic shop down there that started to put board games in, and that's when I started playing. I started playing a bit of Magic the Gathering to start off with, and then I got onto other games like Cosmic Encounter and things like that, and I got heavily into asymmetrical power games. So Cosmic Encounter was a great one, Dune's another one, and that's the thing that's gone through my board gaming in general. I love games that have got asymmetrical powers.
But by the way, that looks like it stayed with you.
Absolutely.
Santorini is a perfect example of that.
Is absolutely fantastic. I've not enjoyed something more than Santorini in a very long time, actually. But yeah, I've definitely stayed on that side of things. As far as the progression for the painting goes, I suppose really I stuck with the wargaming for a bit. I looked at some Napoleonic things, which I enjoyed. That was a break from Games Workshop because other people were playing that. I've enjoyed it, but I sort of wandered back into doing other more wargaming type things. These are actually more recent type of characters here. They were just fun things to paint. You know, after a while, the wargaming and not finding opponents didn't work so well. So I just got into choosing what I enjoyed, what I liked, and things like the Marvel figures were really good. But I suppose there's been a resurgence recently in games that come with resin and cast figures, which is so much nicer than you used to be able to get with games. I mean, I've got nothing against Euro games and meeples and wooden blocks. I really enjoy playing those games. It's really nice. It's really tactile. But you're starting to see now, particularly I suppose Kickstarter's really pushed it forwards. That you get lots of these games where people have hired professional sculptors and come up with these gorgeous figures, almost as add-ons to start off with. But now they're somewhat becoming the focus of some of the games, I suppose.
I mean, there's such a selling point for Kickstarter because you have to get something across. It's very hard to sell somebody a rule set. But beautiful miniatures are beautiful miniatures to anybody, and people who go, I want. And that's the real. You've got to get people to pay the money at the end of the day. So beautiful miniatures like in Kickstarter are always going to be. That's why it works hand in hand.
I think Kickstarter is a very visual platform, isn't it? It's all video and pictures and things like that. So Kickstarter's really pushed forwards a huge amount of stuff. In fact, I think Labyrinth wasn't a Kickstarter, or was it a Kickstarter? No,
I saw it at the Expo last year.
Yeah, that wasn't. That's a local Nottingham company. But the Teenage Mutant Turtles and Santorini both went via Kickstarter. So I've found a lot of material there to work with that I've really enjoyed.
One question I've got actually, which I've never really managed to figure out here, as someone who's done a little bit of painting, is that you can get miniatures that are made of metal or plastic, and there's different kinds of plastic, and then you get, is it resin miniatures? Yeah. And there definitely seems to be some are better than others, but I've never figured out what the kind of hierarchy is there. Could you give us a quick rundown of that?
I suppose as far as details concerned, the resin miniatures have much finer details, and that comes down to me personally, comes down to the casting. There was a blip when resin first came out, where the technology was still evolving, but now I think resin, you get the finest details on those these days.
And are those the most expensive kind of models you can buy then?
They historically could be, but the prices are dropping. Okay, so it's getting better.
Is it more mass produced now because they were such a smaller niche of production that they're more expensive as they become a mass? I think, I guess, just costs have dropped.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's definitely happening. So to me, really, resin miniatures is sort of like your top notch, your finest detail. The metal ones, I really enjoy painting the metal ones. I mean, for me, there's something about the weight and holding them that makes. Bizarrely, the weight of holding a miniature makes it easier to manipulate and paint for me. I feel like I'm holding something.
More stable, I guess. You're any stuff you vibrate, like you're holding it, you're just less likely to knock it. You know what I mean? Plastic's so light that your own natural vibration's going to move it further away. You've got something a bit more. Absolutely. I mean, those were the original GW LED ones, I'm assuming. Was it about what they moved to tin by that point?
I'm not entirely sure. Not by that point. I mean, talking about the weight of things, these little chaps here, these are Austrian Grens. I tend to put coins on the bottom to stabilise them. So they come with a small base, but you put a coin on. And I've gone through quite a period. I mean, I did a lot of Ghost Stories figures at one point. Basically sticking 2p pieces to the bottom of plastic miniatures, so you had that tactile feel of the heavier miniature to go with it. So there's a lot of that. So if anyone wants to donate any old 2p pieces, I'll take all of them, please. I need them. So the weight of them is really good. Going down from that, back to the question, I suppose the plastics really are. There's a lot of plastic around in board games.
Yes. Because traditionally, miniatures in board games have never been very good, have they?
They've not been great.
I mean, you were saying earlier, weren't you, Mark, about you kind of get these little plastic lumps.
Yeah, I mean, talking 10 years ago, the quality's come on no end. There's obviously been improvement, but you were talking low detail. They would do to represent something on the table, but now, certainly, Cool Me or Not's the obvious one. They're trying to push it forward because they've got from the zombie side to the current Blood Rage, etc. The quality is much better. There's also the difference in the plastic though, because if you think about the GW plastics are much firmer, while the 7 miniatures they're a little bit more. They're just you can bend them easier. So the difference in the actual plastic itself is going to make a difference.
Yeah, it really does actually. The softer plastics are much harder to paint. So you spend quite a lot of time getting them out of the box, and you have to end up straightening the plastic because some of them come out of the mould and they warp and they bend.
So if you were to start off painting, I'm sure where some of our viewers may be interested in trying to paint themselves, what kind of model would you recommend they start on?
I would go and buy a variety pack of just any of the lead figures that you can get hold of these days. I wouldn't start with anything with a board game.
Okay.
There's a lot of local companies that you can get things from. North Star Games is a nice local Nottingham company, and they used to do a little variety pack where you get, say, 15 lead miniatures, and they'll be from a random selection of other bits and pieces. That's where my Austin Grens came from, actually. They were in a selection pack.
Okay.
And then you have a variety of things just to play with and have a practice on, and that way you're not ever so disappointed if you ruin something to start off with.
Yes, okay.
Which will happen.
I've got plenty of things that I'm not prepared to put on this table and show you today. That,
Okay.
you know, things do go wrong and things have to be repainted and stripped down. But I would say it doesn't really matter what you start with as far as figures, but get a variety and just give it a go.
Okay.
And don't be afraid of putting some paint on a figure. Put some paint on, if it doesn't work, move on to the next one. You've learned something. You know, you'll learn more from mistakes than you will from doing something fantastic.
All right, great. So sorry, yes, coming back to our progression then through painting.
I think I'd almost got to the end, really. I suppose the plastic ones...
Let me just show you.
the progression... Not,
this
sorry,
is the, yes.
Sorry.
That's from these next ones are from the Labyrinth game, aren't they?
Yeah, these are from Labyrinth. These were quite fun to paint, actually. That might be another difference that you end up with board games from wargaming, is that with board games, for me, try and work from the artwork that comes with the game.
Yeah.
So I'll do a lot of trying to colour match them to the games and try and get them to look as much like the box art as it did.
Yeah, okay.
And also there's a certain element of trying to get it to match the game board as well. So if the colours don't match what's going on the board, you can end up with an awful looking sort of clash of colours. It's a tricky thing to get right when I started doing it.
Yeah, okay. And just to make it clear here, these are obviously the unpainted ones that come with the game, and then these are Chris's versions that he's painted afterwards, which do look lovely, I think.
Yeah.
It is fun to play with a painted set of miniatures. Actually, it does add a bit to the game. That's for sure.
What was the first board game that you painted the miniatures from then? Can you remember?
It's going back quite a long way, actually.
Was it a game that you perhaps looked at and thought, I like playing this game, but I'd like it even more if the miniatures were painted?
It probably had to be Robo Rally.
Oh, okay.
So that goes back a long time. That's when it had the small lead figures on it, and I spent ages trying to get the red for Zoombot right and trying to get Twonky's face right for the telly. So I suppose going all the way back then, I'd started to play with them. But even back then, I was still doing Games Workshop stuff more at the time. But I suppose Robo Rally, when I spotted those guys, it's like, you know what, that's a game that needs to be painted. So if they're still lurking around at home somewhere, I probably should dig them out now and play that again. That's a good game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we've got these, this is from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is that right?
I think
I've got a box here for that somewhere as well. Here we go.
This is actually a set I'm painting for friends, so I haven't played this game yet. But again, I've tried to, on these chaps, I've tried to match the colour of the characters basically to the colour of the characters.
You were saying about skin tones that you just don't realise it's there until you...
Well, yeah, I'm sure people that like the Turtles and have grown up with the Turtles on things other than the cartoon will know this, but I hadn't realised until I got these cards out that Raphael and Donatello had slightly different skin tones. So
right.
I started painting, they all started painting the same way, which is basically, for me, it's a black undercoat, and then I highlight with a white airbrush over the top to pick out highlights, and then I move on to doing block colours over the top of that. So we get into a bit that can be quite disappointing when you first do it. You start to block the colours and you think, well, how am I going to get to that? But this is the process I've gone through with these guys. And then you end up with something very much more like these guys here. And afterwards I basically put all the details in and the highlights up. So these follow the traditional block colouring method of painting. But there was that little moment where I suddenly thought, I've got to get back to the colour cards, because I originally started doing the same, and then I thought, well, I need a different green for this, a different colour for that. I ended up going to a different range of paints to get the right purple for Donatello's headband and colours and things on there as well, just to get the colours right. So quite pleased with those so far.
Yeah, definitely.
All right then, and then finally we have Santorini on the end here.
Yes, I like this game. It's a really good game. It's a lot of fun as well. And it was I did this one as a birthday present for my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So
lucky him.
Yeah, lucky him. And a lot of the games I paint go to other people. So this is really nice because he's just down the road from me, so I still get to play this one, which is, it's an incentive to paint it up for him, I suppose.
And we've got a nice little before and after here, so I don't know if you can see, we'll show you a close-up. But the difference it makes, because he's actually painted all the buildings as well, not just the miniatures, and they really do make a big difference, I think. Yeah,
it was sort of like a second run at that one, I suppose. Originally I'd painted all the miniatures for him because there was something about those miniatures. They were slightly cheeky, nice big heads, which are easier to paint, and they were fun characters to go into. But I painted them all up for him, and I was going to give it to him a couple of days before his birthday, and I set it all up to take some photos and thought, I've got to do the buildings. And it went back to the painting table for another 2 days to get those sorted out.
All right.
But I think it was worth it. I think that was worth it.
Yeah, I think I want you to paint a copy of Arcadia Quest for me, because I'm a similar sort of style.
Yes, well, we'll be queuing up afterwards to get you to paint our
Oh, there's
games.
also Kingdom Death that's got coming.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a few Kingdom Deaths. I'm quite looking forward to seeing the Dark Souls game.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yes, I've got a copy actually. So.
in fact, you could nip back home and have it before
Talk
we leave.
afterwards about this one.
Yeah.
But, that looks very interesting.
All right.
I'd like to get my hands on that.
Now, BoardGameGeek, the website, has a competition, don't they, every month? Is that right? So what's it called?
It's the Golden Turtleback painting competition.
Right. Tell us a little bit about that then.
It's been going for a fair few years actually. It's a relatively informal competition. You win some geek gold. You can win a badge if you win the first prize each month.
Okay.
And it's encouraging painters of all levels, really. You know, you get some amazing painters there. But at the end of the day, I don't believe there's anyone who works professionally for commission for money that does any work in it. So it's all people on the Geek. You upload a picture of something you painted in the previous month, and we all vote on who gets to be the winner for that month at the end of it. And it's great fun, and the community's fantastic.
And I guess it keeps you have that drive to paint, because you get to display something, other people get to look at it. It's not just, I mean, obviously it's nice to be able to paint this quality of yourself, but be able to put it out there, and because it's people like your peers are also all voting, it gives you a sense of like, I've done something good and every other people like it, and I like your stuff too, which is very nice.
It's really good fun, and the best thing about that competition is there's a guild that goes with it as well, and they're hugely encouraging to anyone who wants to begin. So if you want to begin painting, then go in there, throw some questions out, and everyone will be coming with all sorts of different suggestions. Everyone's paints the best, everyone prefers their own brushes, but you'll get those suggestions, you can pick your own things, and they'll really help you guys out. So if you want to get painting, that's a really good place to start.
All right, brilliant. And I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are actually on the competition, or in the competition now, is that right?
They're in the competition till the end of May.
Okay.
So if anyone would like to go and have a look at them, there's some great work on there this month, so anyone that would like to vote for anything on there, thoroughly encourage you to go and have a look.
All right, brilliant. Okay, so just a few questions then about, for people who want to get into painting themselves. We talked a little bit about the kind of miniatures you might want to pick up to start with. What sort of paint would you recommend for a good starter set of paints or starter set of brushes? Where are you going to get that kind of thing from?
I think around Nottingham you've got a few choices, but really a set of Games Workshop paints is great to start off with. Okay. I would definitely buy miniature paints rather than craft paints. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do great things with craft paints. I mean, when I started, all these paints were bought from, I don't think it was Hobbycraft back then, but the equivalent of Hobbycraft.
Yeah.
So he was done with craft paints, and you can get great work out of it, but it's harder to do, you take longer over doing it. Buy yourself some good miniature paints with fine pigments in, and don't waste money on good brushes yet.
Okay.
Buy some reasonable brushes, but if you go out and start buying some red sable brushes, you'll end up damaging them the first few times when you get things wrong, when you try dry brushing. So get some reasonable but not too expensive stuff that you don't mind breaking, and then afterwards just experiment. Play out with different things. We've got Foundry Games, they're based out toward Newark, they do a range of paints. You can buy Vallejo paints, they're available from lots of local model kit stockists, they're fantastic. They do a great range of military based colours, so if you're doing the Napoleonic styles and things like that, all the way up to, I suppose, Warlord and World War II and things like that, they do a range of paints that actually give you RAL colours matched to the infantry and the tanks and things like that of the period. So you can just pick up a paint and go, that's close enough.
I don't know about you, but I found with one thing with paints, because the ranges of some are so huge. I mean, this was my partner, I bought paints for her. I actually went with Army Painter, purely because they have a smaller number, because you can get so many shades of red, and you've got to pick a range, and sometimes it's just easier to go, at least that's a red. That was just me though, because as a starter, sort of an easy, rather than having to go, wow, there's so much. I mean, think of the GW paint range. They've tried to make it smaller recently, but it's still you get a lot of different shades of the same colour. You choose which one to pick.
Yeah.
All right, and then when I first started painting, it was very much a case of you do the undercoating, you pick a yellow or a blue or whatever, and you paint it, and then you look at it and go, it doesn't look great. But then you look at a painter who knows what they're doing, and you compare the difference, and you're like, how do they make it look so good? Are there any kind of starter tips that you could give someone to add some, I don't know, shading or whatever it is that makes them look so much better than just the block colours? How do you get to that kind of stage?
Get to that? Well, the process for me really is when you do the block colours, I'll then go through and then I'll look at shades and paint shades individually. I don't use ink washes a great deal, I actually paint them myself.
Okay.
But for a starter, washes and glazes and things like that are a really good way to start because they get a lot of definition very quickly.
Okay.
And then once you've done that, then start to put some gentle highlights on. Don't go too far to start off with. Do a bit, have a look, stop, come back, do a little bit more later on. But there's some really, really great YouTube videos out there that you can go and watch other people painting.
Okay.
And that is probably the best way to get details. I can explain it, I can show you befores and afters, but actually there's nothing quite like watching someone else put a brush on a miniature and seeing how it evolves and how the paint dries and what happens. But really, try it. Go and give it a go.
Okay, great. And then just before we finish, could you just chat a little bit about the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund? Perhaps explain what that is for people who don't know what it is, because you've been involved with that, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been involved for the last 3 years. It's worthwhile going onto the Geek and looking at the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund. There's quite a lot of footage and detail about that posted on that. But each year there's an auction that's held, and people auction off board games and all sorts of other things like services. Like you might get someone offering taxis to Gen Con, which is it's a great thing to auction off. It doesn't cost you anything, but someone else wants that. Airport transfers and things like that. And there's maybe about 4 or 5 people from the Painting Guild that go on each year, and they will auction off a selection of miniatures under the deal that you pay money towards having some miniatures painted. First couple of years I did 12 miniatures, and just people would bid for that, and then I'd paint 12 miniatures of their choice. Last year I only did 6, but I also put up another couple of pre-painted board games as well. So I auctioned off a couple of lots. So one person got I've forgotten the name of it now. The horror that came to Atlantic City.
Oh yeah, the Doom.
The Doom that came to Atlantic
Yes.
City. Yes, that one there. So I sent that one off to a chap in Mexico. He bought that one.
Okay.
And I did 6 miniatures for another guy as well. So it's worth a look at. It's a great way to spread some stuff around, I suppose. And it's a really good cause. So have a look out for that. That comes around August, September time each year.
All right, great. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, particularly Mark?
No. I think you've shown a big range of different things. It just shows you I mean, you can see between that being, well, you'll be able to see when we got it close up, the fact that there is so much close between that and that and they're 15 years apart in the difference. So you think that that's a good quality modern grade plastic to an old GW.
Yeah.
It's just I think you've covered a lot.
There's a huge difference in board games these days. It's worth it's really some good stuff out there.
All right.
Do you want to leave any contact details to contact in, or are you all right with it?
I'll let you put them in the comments below or something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks very much for coming in, Chris.
Absolute pleasure.
Hopefully you got a good overview of what can be achieved. If you fancy getting into painting, you can have a go and enjoy spending some evenings getting the paints out and doing up your board games. All right, thanks very much. You've been watching Board Game Opinions. My name is Jonathan Hicks.
And my name is Mark Windle.
See you later.